The first knock came at 10:17 a.m. 3 precise raps against my hotel room door. Not the casual tap of housekeeping, but something more deliberate. I glanced up from my laptop, annoyed at the interruption despite the do not disturb sign I definitely hung on the doorknob the night before. I waited, hoping whoever it was would go away. After 30 seconds of silence, I returned to my presentation notes. I was in Portland for a pharmaceutical sales conference. 3 days of networking, presentations, and feigned enthusiasm for minor drug formulation improvements after a red-eye flight and a night of fitful sleep in an unfamiliar bed. All I wanted was a few hours of quiet preparation before facing the convention center crowds. Hence, the do not disturb sign. The second knock came at 1:43 p.m., the same pattern. 3 evenly spaced raps, mechanical in their precision. This time I approached the door, peering through the peephole. The hallway was empty. No housekeeping cart, no staff member walking away. Just the faded floral wallpaper and the humming ice machine down the corridor. I double-checked the do not disturb sign. Still hanging there undisturbed. A mistake, I told myself. Probably housekeeping with too many rooms on their list, knocking automatically. I called the front desk anyway. Riverfront Hotel, how may I help you? A cheerful female voice answered. Hi. This is Morgan Chen in room 718. I've got my do not disturb sign out, but someone's knocked twice now. Could you let housekeeping know I don't need service today? A pause. Keyboard clicking. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen, but there's no housekeeping assigned to the 7th floor today due to staffing shortages. Are you sure it wasn't another guest? Perhaps they had the wrong room number. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. You're certain no staff has been on my floor? Positive. The system shows no keycard access to that floor by any staff member today. Her voice shifted, concern edging in. Would you like me to send security to check? No, I said quickly, then reconsidered. Actually, yes. If you could have someone just walk the floor, that would be great. Security found nothing. No unauthorized persons, no maintenance staff, no explanation for the knocking. The security officer, a retired police veteran named Harris, seemed to take my concerns seriously, though. Keep your deadbolt engaged, he advised before leaving. And call immediately if it happens again. When I returned to my room, something felt off. Nothing I could immediately identify, just a sense that the space had been disturbed. I did a quick inventory. Laptop still there, wallet untouched, suitcase where I'd left it. But as I entered the bathroom, I noticed it. My toiletries, which I'd left scattered around the sink, were now arranged in a perfect line, organized by height. Someone had been in my room. I checked the window, locked, and 17 floors up anyway. The door showed no signs of forced entry. I called the front desk again, this time asking for the manager. I apologize for your concern, Mr. Chen, the manager said after listening to my story. I've checked the electronic lock records. Your door hasn't been opened since you returned from breakfast at 8:43 n.a. Not by staff, not by anyone. That's impossible, I insisted. Someone rearranged things in my bathroom. Sir, the electronic locks don't lie. They record every entry. His voice remained professional but took on a patronizing edge. Perhaps you arranged them yourself and forgot? Many travelers are more tired than they realize. I wanted to argue but knew how it sounded. The paranoid guest, imagining intruders, blaming hotel staff for phantom disturbances. I thanked him curtly and hung up. The third knock came at 4:28 p.m. 3 identical raps, followed by the unmistakable sound of a keycard being inserted into the lock. The green light flashed, but the deadbolt prevented the door from opening. Someone with a keycard was trying to enter my room. I froze, heart hammering against my ribs. Through the peephole, I caught a glimpse of someone in a hotel uniform quickly turning away. Face obscured, I grabbed my phone to call security when it buzzed in my hand. A text from an unknown number. Wrong room. But I'll find you. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't random. This was targeted. But why me? And nobody. A mid-level pharmaceutical rep with a modest expense account and a suitcase full of product samples. I called security again. Harris arrived within minutes, accompanied by the hotel manager. They took my concerns more seriously this time, especially after I showed them the text message. The lock records show a master key was used at 4:28, the manager admitted, looking troubled. But all master keys are accounted for. This shouldn't be possible. I want a different room, I said. Now. And I don't want the room number in the system. They relocated me to room 912, with Harris personally escorting me. The manager promised to investigate and suggested I might want to file a police report. I agreed, increasingly convinced this wasn't just a hotel mix-up. In the new room, I pushed a chair against the door and tried to focus on my presentation, but my mind kept circling back to those 3 precise knocks. The rearranged toiletries, the text message. None of it made sense. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. Nice view from 912. Blue suitcase suits you. My heart stopped. I rushed to the window and yanked the curtains closed, scanning the surrounding buildings. How did they know my new room? How did they know about my suitcase? I called Harris, my voice shaking. He came immediately, bringing a police officer who happened to be on site for an unrelated matter. The officer, Detective Reeves, took my statement with professional interest. This fits a pattern we've been tracking, she explained, scrolling through my text messages. Over the past 6 months, 3 other pharmaceutical reps staying in hotels around the convention center have reported similar experiences. Knocking, items moved, threatening texts. What are they after? I asked. In 2 cases, product samples were stolen, specifically new pain medications. In the 3rd case, the rep's laptop was taken, containing proprietary information about an upcoming drug launch. My sample case, of course. I was carrying early samples of our company's new migraine medication, not scheduled for public release for another 6 months. We think it's corporate espionage, Detective Reeves continued. Someone's been targeting reps from specific companies, likely selling the information or samples to competitors or overseas manufacturers for reverse engineering. But how do they know which rooms we're in? How did they get a master key? We suspect someone inside the hotels is involved. The pattern suggests they target hotels during conferences, identify specific company representatives, and pass the information to an outside accomplice. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. Final chance. Leave the blue case outside room 912. Walk away for 20 minutes, or you take it another way. Detective Reeves immediately called for backup and arranged a sting operation. They prepared a fake sample case while I remained in the room under police protection. At the designated time, they placed the decoy in the hallway and set up surveillance. 20 minutes passed. Nothing. 30 minutes. Still nothing. Then the bathroom door, which I was certain had been open, slowly swung closed. Someone was already in the room. Before I could shout a warning, a figure lunged from behind the bathroom door. A woman in a hotel housekeeping uniform, face contorted with rage, wielding what looked like a keycard repurposed into a sharp edge. Detective Reeves reacted instantly, drawing her weapon as the other officer tackled the intruder. In the chaos that followed, the truth emerged. The woman, Eliza Mercer, was a former hotel net specialist who'd been fired 6 months ago. She'd kept a master key card and reprogrammed it to work across multiple hotel chains. Using her knowledge of hotel systems, she'd been targeting pharmaceutical reps, stealing samples and data for a black market operation. She was hiding in your original room when you first called security, Detective Reeves explained later. Probably slipped in while you were at breakfast. When you got moved, she accessed the system remotely to find your new room assignment. These old hotels have surprisingly vulnerable networks. The Do Not Disturb sign had actually helped her target rooms. It told her which guests were likely to be away for extended periods, and which rooms contained valuable items worth protecting. They found her makeshift office in a vacant apartment overlooking the hotel. Laptops, surveillance equipment, detailed notes on pharmaceutical conferences, and attending representatives. My name had been highlighted, along with my company and the new migraine drug samples. I gave my statement, identified Mercer in a formal lineup, and eventually testified at her trial. The conference continued, though I barely remember my presentation. The hotel offered a full refund and upgraded me to a suite with enhanced security for my remaining nights. But hotels never felt safe again. I started requesting rooms without adjoining doors. I began carrying a doorstop and a portable door alarm. I check every closet, every shower curtain upon arrival. And I never ever use the do not disturb sign anymore, because sometimes the things meant to protect our privacy only serve to mark us as targets. Sometimes they tell the wrong people exactly where to find what they're looking for. And sometimes 3 precise knocks are just the beginning. The elevator doors slid shut with a soft whoosh, and that's when I first felt it. That prickle on the back of my neck, the one that tells you something is just wrong. It wasn't the slightly too loud muzak, or the flickering fluorescent light overhead. It was him. My name is Maya. I'm a marketing consultant, and I was in Miami for a 3-day conference. The Ocean Palms Hotel wasn't exactly 5-star, more like a solid 3. Clean enough, centrally located, the kind of place where the lobby art is aggressively generic. I'd just checked in, tired from the flight, looking forward to a hot shower and an overpriced room service burger. I stepped into the elevator, pressed the button for the 12th floor. Just as the doors were closing, a man slipped in beside me. I hadn't seen him in the lobby. He was nondescript, mid-40s, maybe, wearing a slightly rumpled business suit, carrying a worn leather briefcase. He didn't press a button. He just stood in the corner, turned slightly towards me, and smiled. Not a friendly smile. This was a fixed, unwavering, almost painted-on grin, his eyes holding mine with an intensity that made my skin crawl. The elevator began its ascent. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, punctuated only by the soft hum of the machinery. He just kept smiling, that awful, empty smile. Was this just Miami being weird, or was my travel fatigue making me paranoid? The elevator dinged from my floor. "This is me," I said, my voice a little too bright, a little too shaky. I stepped out, fumbling for my keycard. He didn't move. He just stood there in the corner of the elevator, that fixed smile still plastered on his face, his eyes following me, unblinking, until the door slid shut, leaving me alone in the quiet, carpeted hallway. A shiver traced its way down my spine. Who was that guy? And why did I suddenly feel like I'd just escaped something? I tried to shake it off. Long flight, new city, probably just an oddball. My room was standard hotel fare. 2 queen beds, a generic seascape print on the wall, a faint smell of industrial cleaner. I double-locked the door, slid the chain across. A little voice in my head, the one that usually only piped up during turbulent flights, whispered, "He knows what floor you're on." I told it to shut up. Later that evening, after a quick dinner in the hotel restaurant, where I kept scanning the other diners, half expecting to see him, I headed back up. As I waited for the elevator, I thought I saw him again. Just a glimpse, down a long service corridor, the back of that same rumpled suit, disappearing around a corner. My heart did a little stutter step. Coincidence. This was a big hotel, lots of business travelers. Still, I found myself taking the stairs, all 12 flights, my breath coming in ragged gasps by the time I reached my floor. The suspicious sign started small, almost dismissible. The do not disturb sign I'd hung on my door was on the floor when I got back from a morning conference session. The little complimentary notepad by the phone, which I hadn't touched, had a faint, almost invisible indentation on the top page, like someone had been writing on the sheet above it. My toiletries in the bathroom seemed subtly rearranged. Tiny things. The kind of things that make you question your own memory, your own sanity. Was I overreacting? I scribbled in my actual notebook. Am I just tired? The second night, the real terror began. I was in bed, trying to read, the city lights painting stripes across my ceiling. Around 1 a.m. I heard it, faint at first. The sound of a door handle turning down the hall. Jiggle, pause. Jiggle, pause. My blood ran cold. It was methodical, deliberate, getting closer. Jiggle, pause. Room 1214. Jiggle, pause. Room 1-112. My room was 1210. My breath hitched. The jiggling stopped outside my door. For a long, agonizing moment, there was silence. Then a more forceful, prolonged rattle of my doorknob. My chain was on, the deadbolt thrown. I could hear faint, shallow breathing just outside the door. I lay there, paralyzed, clutching my phone, my knuckles white. After what felt like an eternity, the breathing receded, followed by the soft jiggle. Pause at the next door, 12-8. I didn't sleep. I called the front desk, my voice a shaky whisper. They sent up a bored-looking security guard named Frank, who ambled down the hallway, found nothing, and suggested I might have been dreaming. "Lot of guests, man," he'd said with a shrug. "People forget their room numbers, try the wrong door. Happens all the time." His dismissiveness made me feel even more isolated, more vulnerable. The next day, I saw him. By the ice machine at the end of my hall. The man from the elevator. His briefcase was on the floor beside him. He wasn't getting ice. He was just standing there, that same fixed, terrifying smile on his face, watching me as I approached. I froze. He didn't speak. He just held my gaze, his eyes like polished stones. I turned and practically ran back to my room, my heart pounding. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a coincidence. This was real. I barricaded the door with the flimsy desk chair, my hands shaking so hard I could barely function. I knew I should leave, check out, run. But a part of me, the stubborn, rational part, still whispered that I was being hysterical, that there had to be an explanation. My conference ended the next morning. I just had to make it through one more night. That night, the scratching started. Faint at first, at the bottom of my door. Like a fingernail, or something sharper, being dragged slowly across the wood. Then, the distinct metallic snick of something being inserted into the keycard reader. Beep, beep, beep. Error. A pause. Snick. Beep, beep, beep. My barricade wouldn't hold against a keycard. The scratching again, more insistent now around the deadbolt. Then the sickeningly soft sound of the lock tumbler turning. My deadbolt. He had a key, or he'd picked it. The door handle began to turn slowly, deliberately. The chair scraped against the cheap carpet as the door pushed inward, just an inch, and the edge of that horrifying, fixed smile. "Just wanted to make sure you were comfortable, Maya," he whispered, his voice a dry rustle. My name. He knew my name. "You look so pretty when you're scared." I screamed then, a raw, ragged sound, grabbing the heavy glass water, carafe from the nightstand, my only weapon. I dialed 911, my fingers fumbling, shouting my room number, shouting for help. The eye vanished from the crack. I heard footsteps, quick and light, retreating down the hall. The police arrived, sirens wailing in the distance. Then closer. Frank, the security guard, looked slightly less bored this time. The man was gone, vanished. Hotel security footage was inconclusive. They had no record of anyone matching his description checking in. No master keys missing. It was as if he'd been a ghost. Except ghosts don't pick locks and whisper your name. I left Miami that morning on the first flight out. I never finished the conference. The Ocean Palms Hotel offered a refund and a tight-lipped apology. The police report was filed, then buried under a mountain of other urban anxieties. They never found him. I don't know who he was, or what he wanted. Was he a hotel employee with a dark secret? A professional predator who targeted solo female travelers? Or just a random, terrifying ripple in the fabric of a strange city? I'll never know. But sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet room, I'll hear a faint scratching sound, or the soft jiggle of a doorknob, and I'll see that fixed, empty smile, those pale, watchful eyes, and I know that some passengers never really get off the elevator. They just ride with you, silently, until they reach your floor. The elevator's mechanical whir cut through the silence of the 14th floor as I fumbled with my keycard. Room 1427. The hallway stretched endlessly in both directions. lit by those harsh fluorescent bulbs that made everything look sickly. I've been staying at business hotels for 8 years, but something felt different about this one. Maybe it was the way the carpet seemed to muffle every sound, or how the ice machine at the far end hummed with an almost human quality. As I slid the keycard, I heard it. A soft scraping sound from somewhere down the hall, like fabric dragging against a wall. I turned, but the corridor was empty. Just that endless pattern of burgundy carpet and beige walls. The sound stopped the moment I looked. Was someone watching me? I'm Sarah Chen, a marketing consultant who spends more nights in hotels than my own bed. This was Chicago, the Palmer House downtown, and I'd arrived late after a delayed flight from Seattle. It was already past 11 p.m., and all I wanted was to collapse and prepare for tomorrow's client presentation. The hotel lobby had been nearly empty. Just a lone desk clerk who barely looked up when checking me in. My room was standard corporate. 2 queen beds, a desk by the window overlooking the city lights, and that generic hotel smell of industrial carpet cleaner and stale air conditioning. I ordered takeout, took a hot shower, and settled in to review my presentation slides. That's when I noticed the elevator kept moving. From my room, I could hear it clearly. The soft ding as it stopped on my floor. The mechanical whisper of doors opening and closing. But no footsteps ever followed. No voices, just the elevator, coming and going like it was delivering invisible passengers. The third time it happened, I crept to my door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, but the elevator doors were just sliding shut. As I watched, they opened again immediately, as if someone had pressed the button. But there was no one there. I checked the time, 11:47 p.m. Hotels were quiet at this hour, but not this. Expectant. My phone buzzed. Not this. Expectant. A text from an unknown number. Room 1427. I know you're there. My hands went cold. I stared at the message, reading it again and again. Someone knew my room number. Someone knew exactly where I was. I quickly typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I called the front desk. The same tired-sounding clerk answered. "Hi, this is Sarah Chen in room 1427. Is everything all right? I'm probably just paranoid. Long day. Thanks." But as I hung up, I realized something that made my skin crawl. I hadn't given him my name, but he hadn't asked for it either. He'd known exactly who I was. The elevator dinged again. This time I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate steps moving down the hallway. I pressed my eye to the peephole and saw a figure, tall, wearing dark clothing, walking past my door. They moved like they were counting room numbers, pausing at each door just long enough to read the brass plates. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stepped back from the door, suddenly aware of how thin it was, how easily those cheap hotel locks could be broken. The footsteps stopped, right outside my door. I held my breath, straining to listen. Nothing. Nothing. Then, so softly I almost missed it, the sound of someone trying my door handle. The metal clicked once, twice, testing it. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but as it started ringing, I heard something that turned my blood to ice. A key card sliding into the lock. Beep. Beep. Red light. Beep. Beep. Red light. Someone was trying to get into my room and they had a key card that wasn't working. 911. What's your emergency? Someone's trying to break into my hotel room, I whispered, backing toward the bathroom. Palmer House downtown, room 1427. They have a key card. Beep. Green light. The lock clicked open. I dropped the phone and ran for the bathroom, slamming the door and turning the pathetic little lock, just as I heard my room door creak open. Heavy footsteps on the carpet. Slow, searching Sarah. A man's voice, calm and conversational. "I know you're here. I saw you check in. I watched you get on the elevator. I know which room you're in because I work here." He worked here. That's how he had a key card. That's how he knew my name without me giving it. The desk clerk, or someone with access to the system. "I've been watching you for weeks, Sarah. Every hotel you stay at. I know. Seattle last month. Portland before that. I have friends in a lot of places. My legs gave out, and I slumped against the bathroom door. This wasn't random. This was planned. Someone had been tracking my business travel, following me from city to city. I just wanted to talk. He continued, and I could hear him moving around my room, opening the closet, checking behind the curtains. I know everything about you. Where you work, where you live when you're not traveling. Your little apartment on Capitol Hill. He knew where I lived. The bathroom had no window, no other exit. I was trapped in a 6-by-8-foot tile box with a man who had been stalking me across state lines. Sarah, come out. I'm not going to hurt you. I just need you to understand something. I heard the hotel room door close. He wasn't leaving. He was making sure no one else could get in. My phone. I dropped it in the main room. There was a landline on the bathroom counter. But when I picked it up, the line was dead. Cut. I know you're scared. His voice was closer now, right outside the bathroom door. But you need to know that what happened to Jessica in Denver wasn't supposed to happen. She fought back. She made it complicated. Jessica. My stomach dropped. 3 months ago, a marketing consultant named Jessica Torres had been found dead in her Denver hotel room. The case was still unsolved. The news report said there were no signs of forced entry because he had key cards. That's not going to happen to you, Sarah. You're smarter than Jessica. You won't fight. The door handle turned. I threw my full weight against it, but the cheap lock was already giving way. The door cracked open an inch, then 2 inches. Don't make this difficult. I could see part of his face through the gap. Pale skin, dark hair, and eyes that looked completely, terrifyingly normal. He could have been anyone. A hotel employee, a businessman, someone you'd pass in the lobby without a second thought. That's when I heard it. Sirens in the distance getting closer. The 911 call. They were coming. He heard them too. The pressure on the door stopped. This isn't over, Sarah. I know where you'll be next week. Boston. The Marriott on Long Wharf. Room 817. You always request high floors away from the elevator. I know your patterns. Footsteps moving away. The room door opening and closing. I waited until the sirens were loud enough to rattle the windows before I opened the bathroom door. The police found the hotel's master keycard system had been hacked weeks earlier. The desk clerk was legitimate, but someone had cloned keycards for dozens of rooms across multiple properties. They never caught him. I quit traveling for work the next month. Started working remotely. Moved apartments. Changed my routines completely. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that sound. The soft beep of a keycard failing. Then trying again. Beep. Beep. Red light. Beep. Green light. And I wonder if he's still out there, in some hotel corridor, watching another woman fumble with her room key, counting the numbers on her door. Because the thing about hotel keycards is they're all connected to the same system. And if you know how to use that system, you can follow someone anywhere they go. Anywhere at all. The whiskey sour was my first excuse when I heard the footsteps. Las Vegas has a way of warping your senses, turning every shadow into a trick of the city's endless pulse. But at 3:37 a.m., alone in room 2147, at the Vega Royale Hotel, the click-clack of leather soles on marble was no illusion. The sound crept slow and deliberate, like a mourner pacing a grave, stopping dead outside my door. I stumbled to the peephole, heart thudding, but the hallway stretched empty. Nothing but flickering sconces and carpet stained with years of spilled drinks and worse choices. I told myself it was just the booze, but my fingers trembled as I locked the deadbolt. The clink too loud in the suffocating quiet. I'm Mara, 35, a pharmaceutical sales rep, dragged to Vegas for a conference nobody cared about. The Vega Royale was a fading casino hotel. Its slot machines chipped. My room a cheap box with Wi-Fi that stuttered like a bad liar. The clerk had sold it as the quietest floor. His grin sharp as he handed me a key card that smelled faintly of bleach. Quiet? By night 2, I knew the drill. A security guard's flashlight swept past hourly, a faint glow under the door. But at 3 a.m., the click-clack came instead. No guard, no light, Just that rhythm, like a predator circling. I lay awake, the tick-tock of the room's clock mocking my racing pulse. My sketch pad untouched on the bedside table. I hadn't drawn landscape since my last trip burned me out. On the third night, I found a cigarette butt in my bathroom trash. Parliament Light, smudged with lipstick. I don't smoke. I called housekeeping, and Rosa, the only maid whose smile didn't seem rehearsed, froze, her eyes darting. Wrong room, she mumbled, bolting down the hall. That's when I checked my closet. My suitcase was unzipped, my blouses folded neatly, sleeves tucked in. Not my hurried packing style. My breath caught, the scrape of hangers like nails on a chalkboard. I told the front desk, but their housekeeping error excuse sounded hollow. Their voices clipped. I texted Lila, a co-worker from the conference, but she laughed it off over drinks. Vegas vibes, Mara. Get some rest. Her fingers fidgeted with her bracelet, though her laugh too tight. I started documenting, my phone a shaky lifeline. Videos caught the click-clack at 3:05 a.m., the door creaking faintly. Audio recordings picking up the rustle of something outside. The front desk called me hysterical, suggesting melatonin with a smirk. Security didn't bother checking. On night 5, the footsteps changed. Faster, closer, a sour stench like vodka, and unwashed hair seeping under the door. I jammed a chair under the handle, wood splintering under my trembling hands. The scrape of chair legs louder than my ragged breaths. The thud of my heart drowned the city's hum. But the whisper of that stench lingered, like someone was breathing just beyond the door. I called Lila again, but her phone was off. Her room, 2145. Silent when I knocked. Night 7. The footsteps didn't stop. The handle turned, smooth, practiced, no jiggle, no pause. The chair held, but the door cracked open. A sliver of light revealing pale eyes, a hotel maintenance uniform, a keycard glinting like a blade. Shh, he whispered, his boot wedging the gap. You're too loud. My pulse roared, hands snatching the lamp, ripping its cord from the wall. I swung, the crack of ceramic on his temple sharp, blood dripping as he stumbled, laughing. A high, slurred cackle. Room 2145. Wasn't this fun? He said, clutching one of my blouses, stolen from my closet. His name tag read, Carl, engineering staff. My stomach twisted. 2145 was Lila's room, the redhead who'd vanished mid-conference, her suitcase still in her closet. I screamed, swinging again, the shatter of glass echoing down the hall. Carl lurched back, his click-clack fading as he ran. I collapsed against the door, gasping, dialing 911, the rustle of my sheets loud as I waited. The cops came, their radios crackling, and found 5 master keycards in Carl's locker, 4 pairs of leather-soled shoes, stained with carpet dye from other hotels. Lila's lipstick was in his pocket, a pink smear tying her to him. But her room was empty, her conference badge on the nightstand. They never found her, just a missing persons report, one of 3 linked to Carl. His motive was predation, a sick game of control, stalking women alone, his keycards unlocking more than doors, feeding his need to dominate. I quit sales, moved to Oregon, traded my sketch pad for spreadsheets, my hands too unsteady for art. Carlton. Carl Riggs awaits trial. 17 keycards found in his apartment, tied to hotels across 3 states. I checked closets twice, sleep with lights on, every creak a threat. Last week, at a Boise motel, I heard click-clack outside my door, leather soles pausing, the locks glitch like a held breath. A note slid under, "Miss me," in jagged script, a Parliament butt taped beside it, lipstick smudged. I burn every note, keep a bat by my bed, but every scrape, every whiff of bleach feels like Carl, his keycard still swiping, my door still his to open. The city's hum can't drown the click-clack, those pale eyes. They say I'm safe, but Carl's out there, his hallway endless, My luck. Just another game. It hit me like a physical blow. That smell. Sickly sweet chemical, with an undertone of something else. Something vaguely organic and rotten. It wasn't just unpleasant. It was the kind of smell that bypasses your nose and claws straight at the back of your throat, making you gag. And it was coming from the air conditioning vent in my hotel room. My supposedly safe, anonymous New York City hotel room. My name is Mark. I'm a software developer, and I was in NYC for a week-long tech conference. The Hotel Excelsior wasn't exactly the Ritz. More of a faded grande dame from the 1940s. All dark wood, slightly threadbare carpets, and plumbing that groaned like a dying beast. My room? #712 was small, but it had a decent view of a brick wall. And more importantly, a functioning AC unit. Crucial for a humid Manhattan June. From the moment I checked in, there had been a faint, musty odor from that vent. The kind you just sort of accept in old buildings. I'd mostly tuned it out, until that third night. That was also the night I first heard the scraping. I'd been working late on my laptop, the city's distant sirens, a familiar lullaby. Around 2 a.m., a faint, intermittent screech. Scrape. Sound started. It seemed to be coming from the wall where the AC unit was, near the vent. I paused my typing, listening. Probably just mice, I figured, or the ancient building settling. It was barely audible. I remember thinking, this old place is probably full of them. Still, a little shiver ran down my spine. Was it my imagination, or did the air in the room suddenly feel heavier? The next day, the faint musty smell from the vent was a little stronger, a little sweeter. Not enough to complain, just enough to be noticeable. The scraping sounds returned that night. A little more persistent, a little closer, it seemed. I started to feel watched. It's a hard feeling to describe, that prickle on your skin, the sense of an unseen presence. I kept glancing towards the vent, half expecting to see a pair of eyes staring back. You're tired, Mark, I told myself. Too much conference, not enough sleep. I wedged a towel against the vent, trying to block the smell and the unsettling feeling. By the fifth night, the smell was no longer subtle. It was overpowering, that sickly sweet, chemical reek, now with a definite undercurrent of something like spoiled meat. It filled the small room, clinging to the curtains, the bedding, my clothes. The scraping sounds were more frequent, accompanied by what sounded like soft thuds, as if something was being moved around, dragged on the other side of that wall. My carefully constructed rationality began to crumble. This wasn't just an old hotel with bad plumbing. Something was wrong. Seriously wrong. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards in the hallway outside my door, every distant siren, seemed magnified, menacing. The air from the vent felt cold, clammy, carrying that hideous perfume. I started to feel paranoid. Was someone doing something in the adjacent room? The room that, according to the fire escape plan on the back of my door, #714, was supposed to be identical to mine. I hadn't heard any guests in there. No TVs, no voices. The next morning, bleary-eyed and nauseous, I went to the front desk. There's a terrible smell coming from the vent in my room. 712, I told the bored-looking clerk. And strange noises at night. He barely looked up from his computer. Probably just the sanitation truck, sir. Or the restaurant downstairs. I can send maintenance up, if you insist. He made it sound like a huge imposition. Yes, please insist, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. An hour later, a world-weary maintenance guy named Sal, reeking faintly of cigarettes and despair, showed up at my door. I explained the smell, the sounds. He grunted, shone a flashlight into my vent. Don't see nothing. Old building, pipes make noise. It's worse at night, I pressed. And the smell, it's not normal. He sighed. All right. Let me check the unit next door. Room 714, right? Supposed to be vacant, undergoing minor refurbishments. He had a master key. I waited in the hallway, my heart thudding. Sal was in 714 for maybe 5 minutes. He came out looking different, His bored expression was gone, replaced by a pale, shaken look. He didn't meet my eyes. "What is it?" I asked, my dread spiking. "Kid," he said, his voice low. "You need to talk to the manager. Now. And maybe think about switching rooms or hotels." He wouldn't say more, just shook his head and hurried off towards the service elevator. The hotel manager, a slick man in an ill-fitting suit named Mr. Peterson, was all smooth apologies and condescending reassurances when I finally got to see him. "A minor plumbing issue in the adjacent room, Mr. Davis. Already being addressed. So sorry for any inconvenience." "Sal looked terrified," I said. "And that smell isn't plumbing." Peterson's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Our maintenance staff can be overly dramatic. As a gesture of goodwill, we can offer you a complimentary breakfast." I didn't want breakfast. I wanted answers. That night, the smell was gone. Completely. The AC hummed, delivering clean, cool air. The scraping sounds had stopped. It was as if nothing had ever happened. But the silence, the normalcy, was somehow more terrifying. What had Sal seen? What had they addressed? I couldn't let it go. My conference was over, but I booked one more night. I had to know. That evening, when the hallways were quiet, I went to room 714. The door was locked, of course, but the old lock on these doors, I'd seen Sal open it with a simple tension wrench and a pick. I'm not proud of it, but I bought a cheap lockpick set online years ago. A forgotten hobby. My hands were shaking, but the lock clicked open with surprising ease. The room was dark. I stepped inside, my phone's flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. It was identical to mine, a mirror image. Except for the vent. The cover was off, lying on the floor, and the inside of the ductwork. It was smeared with something dark, viscous. The sickly sweet chemical smell, though fainter now, still clung to the air. But it was the wall around my vent, the one connecting to my room, 712, that made my blood run cold. "Gotta you do, my grind dried. Run cold." There were fresh pry marks around the edges of where my vent cover would be on the other side. Deep gouges in the plaster. Someone hadn't just been in this room. They'd been trying to get through the vent into my room, or at least to see into it, or pass something through. My flashlight beam caught something else. A small, almost invisible pinhole camera, expertly concealed in the ceiling smoke detector, aimed directly at the bed. And on the dusty nightstand, a single, almost empty bottle of industrial strength cleaning solvent, the kind that would burn your skin and definitely explain the chemical part of the smell, and a small open and very used first aid kit. I didn't sleep in room 712 that night. I didn't sleep in the Hotel Excelsior at all. I grabbed my bags, walked out, and didn't look back. I filed a police report from another state. I told them everything. The smell, the sounds, Sal's reaction, the pry marks, the camera, the solvent. I don't know what came of it. I never heard back. The Hotel Excelsior is still there, still taking reservations. Its faded grandeur probably still masking God knows what. I don't know who was in room 714, or what they were doing. Were they watching me, trying to get into my room, or was I just an accidental witness to something far worse happening in that vacant room? The smell and sounds the byproduct of some other horror. The minor refurbishments a convenient lie. The questions still haunt me, and now, every time I stay in a hotel, the first thing I check isn't the minibar or the Wi-Fi. It's the air conditioning vent, and I always listen for the scraping. The first thing I noticed wasn't the child's approach. It was the silence. Orlando resort lobbies are never truly quiet, even at midnight. There's always the hum of distant voices, the chime of elevators, the soft splash of decorative fountains. But in that moment, as I sat alone on a plush armchair reviewing my presentation notes for tomorrow's marketing conference, the vast marble expanse of the Palmetto Grand's lobby felt unnaturally still, like the world was holding its breath. "Excuse me? Can you help me find my parents?" I looked up to find a small child, maybe 7 or 8, standing 3 feet away. Dark hair, blue t-shirt with some cartoon character, and wide eyes that seemed on the verge of tears. The child clutched a worn stuffed animal, a dinosaur or dragon, I couldn't quite tell, with white-knuckled intensity. They said wait by the big plant, but they've been gone so long. The child continued, voice quavering. I'm scared. I glanced around the lobby, nearly deserted at this hour. Just a night manager at the distant front desk, a security guard by the main entrance scrolling through his phone, and a couple waiting for an elevator across the atrium. No frantic parents searching for a missing child. Of course I'll help you, I said, setting my laptop aside. Let's go to the front desk. They can make an announcement for your parents. The child shook their head, those unshed tears still brimming. No, I know where they are now. I just need a grown-up to take me. It's dark, and I'm scared to go alone. A faint warning bell sounded in the back of my mind, but I dismissed it. This was a family resort, after all, the epicenter of child-friendly tourism in America. And the kid looked genuinely distressed. What's your name? I asked, gathering my room key and phone. A pause, almost imperceptible. Jamie. Okay, Jamie, I'm Lauren. Where'd you last see your parents? Jamie pointed toward a corridor leading away from the main lobby. They went to get ice cream. From the special place down there. I frowned slightly. The ice cream shop. The ice cream shop. I think that closes at 10. Jamie's expression didn't change. Not that one. The special one. For guests on our floor. I had been at the Palmetto Grand for 2 days and hadn't heard about any special ice cream shops. But large resorts often had exclusive amenities for premium guests. It wasn't implausible. All right. Let's go find them, I said, offering my hand. Offering my hand, Jamie took it, and we started walking. The child's hand felt oddly cold in mine, despite the Florida humidity that persisted even in the air-conditioned lobby. As we passed the front desk, I considered stopping to mention the situation, but decided against it when I saw the night manager on the phone. Better to just help Jamie find their parents quickly, I reasoned. The corridor Jamie led me down was carpeted in the same tropical pattern as the main areas, but the lighting grew dimmer as we walked. The sounds of the lobby, soft music, distant conversations, faded behind us. We passed a bank of elevators, then a shuttered gift shop, moving deeper into a part of the resort I hadn't explored. Are you sure this is the right way? I asked, increasingly uncertain. Yes, Jamie replied, their grip tightening slightly on my hand. Just a little further. We turned down another corridor, this one narrower than the last. The decor subtly changed, less tourist-oriented, more utilitarian. The carpeting gave way to tile. A service area, I realized, not somewhere guests typically went. Jamie, I don't think there's an ice cream shop back here, I said, slowing my pace. This looks like a staff area. It's a secret, Jamie insisted, tugging my hand more firmly. Mommy said only special guests get to know about it. That warning signal in my brain grew louder. Something wasn't right. The child's grip had changed, no longer seeking comfort but controlling, directing. And their voice had subtly shifted, the tearful quaver replaced by something more practiced. I stopped walking. I think we should go back to the front desk. Jamie turned to look at me, and in that moment, something changed in their expression. The vulnerable lost child look vanished, replaced by something calculating, almost adult. Their eyes narrowed slightly, assessing me. Mommy's waiting, Jamie said, voice flat now. She's right through that door. They pointed to a service entrance ahead, marked authorized personnel only. Noah, I said firmly, trying to extract my hand from their grip. We're going back to the lobby. The child's fingers tightened around mine with surprising strength. Not the desperate clutch of a frightened kid, but something mechanical and deliberate. Their small nails dug into my skin. Mommy needs you to come, they insisted, pulling harder. She needs your help. I managed to free my hand, taking a step back. Jamie, we need to find a hotel employee to help us. The child's face transformed again, tears instantly reappearing. Please, don't leave me. I'm scared. The performance was flawless, except for the eyes, which remained cold and watchful. Before I could respond, the service door ahead opened. A man in his 30s stepped out, dressed in casual resort attire, khaki shorts and a polo shirt with no logo. He could have been any tourist, except for the way his eyes immediately locked onto mine, then flicked to Jamie with a questioning look. "Everything okay here?" he asked, voice friendly but tense. Jamie immediately moved toward him. "I found her, just like you said." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Good job, buddy. Why don't you go find your mom while I help the lady?" Cold dread washed over me. This was a setup. A child used as bait to lure a woman into a secluded area. I'd nearly fallen for one of the oldest predatory tactics in existence. "Actually, I just remembered I'm meeting friends in the lobby," I said, backing away. "They're probably looking for me right now." The man stepped forward. "I don't think your friends are expecting you, Lauren." He knew my name. I hadn't told him my name. Fight or flight instinct kicked in, adrenaline flooding my system. I turned and ran, not looking back, hearing rapid footsteps behind me. The corridor seemed longer than before, the turn to the main lobby impossibly far. I fumbled for my phone to call for help, grateful I hadn't left it behind. I rounded the corner, picking up speed, hearing the man's footsteps gaining on me. The child was nowhere to be seen. As I approached the bank of elevators, I slammed my palm against every button, praying for any door to open. By some miracle, one did, revealing an elderly couple returning from what appeared to be a night at Disney, still wearing matching Mickey Mouse ears. I rushed in beside them, gasping for breath. "Close the door, please. That man is following me." I managed between breaths. The elderly man reacted immediately, repeatedly pressing the door close button, while his wife moved protectively between me and the entrance. The doors slid shut just as my pursuer reached them. Through the narrowing gap, I caught a glimpse of cold fury on his face, and Jamie appearing silently beside him, expression blank. "Are you all right, dear?" the elderly woman asked, genuine concern in her eyes. I wasn't all right. I was shaking uncontrollably, my mind racing through what had almost happened. "I need to get to the front desk," I said, "or security. That man, he used that child to lure me down a service corridor." They stayed with me all the way to the front desk, where a night manager called security immediately. I gave descriptions of both the man and Jamie. The security footage confirmed my story, showing me talking to the child, walking down the corridor, then running back alone with a man in pursuit. But when security checked the service areas, they found nothing. The police arrived within 20 minutes. They took my statement, reviewed the footage, and searched the resort grounds. The detective who interviewed me, a veteran with tired eyes, showed me a folder with photos of similar-looking men and asked if I recognized my pursuer. I didn't. "You're not the first," she told me quietly. "We've had 3 reports in the last 2 months. All upscale resorts, all using a child as bait, all targeting women traveling alone. The child's description changes, but the method is consistent." "Human trafficking?" I asked, voicing my worst fear. "Possibly," she said, "or robbery, or worse. The good news is you did exactly the right thing by trusting your instincts." They offered to relocate me to another hotel, but I declined, not wanting to be alone. Instead, I accepted the resort's offer of a room closer to the security office and an escort for the remainder of my stay. I didn't sleep that night, sitting instead with a desk chair wedged under the door handle, jumping at every sound in the corridor outside. The conference continued the next day. I went through the motions, gave my presentation on digital marketing strategies with a smile plastered on my face. But my thoughts kept returning to Jamie's cold hand in mine, the calculated tears, the man emerging from the service door knowing my Nama. On my last morning, as I was checking out, the detective called with an update. He typically worked with a woman who sometimes used her own child in the operation. They were still searching for them. "The child is a victim too," the detective emphasized. "Trained to perform a role, probably through fear and manipulation." That was perhaps the most haunting part. A child weaponized, taught to prey on the protective instincts of strangers. I wondered how many times Jamie had performed that role. How many people had been lured down dark corridors by those practiced tears. I've traveled for work dozens of times since then. But everything's different now. I never sit with my back to open spaces. I keep my phone in my hand, not on tables or chairs. I take photos of my Uber driver's license plates and share my location constantly with friends. And when children approach me in public places, I direct them immediately to uniformed staff, maintaining a safe distance. I hate that my instinct to help has been corrupted by fear, but I understand now how predators exploit our best qualities: compassion, concern, the desire to protect children. Sometimes I still dream about Jamie's hand in mine, cold and controlling, pulling me toward that service door. In my dreams, I don't break free in time. In my dreams, I see what was waiting on the other side. The most terrifying predators aren't the obvious monsters. They're the ones who understand human psychology well enough to turn our virtues against us. They know we want to believe a child in distress. They know we want to help. What? And they're counting on it. You're staying in 1214, right? The words, soft and casual, hit me like a punch to the gut, right there in the too bright, slightly off-key silence of the hotel elevator. How could he possibly know that? My name is Sarah. I'm an architect. And last July, my firm sent me to Miami for a week-long urban planning conference. The Coral Sands Resort was one of those mid-range places, trying a bit too hard with the tropical lobby theme, the scent of chlorine and stale pina coladas clinging to the air. It was just a place to sleep, really. I checked in around 3 p.m., tired from the flight, the Florida humidity already making my hair frizz. All I wanted was a shower, and to forget about the PowerPoint presentation I had to give in 2 days. As I waited for the elevator, the lights in the panel flickered, and for a second, I thought I heard it move, that low hum and subtle vibration, even though no one had called it, and the indicator arrows were dark. I blinked, chalking it up to travel fatigue. Then that familiar prickle on the back of my neck, the one that tells you someone's watching. I glanced around the mostly empty lobby, a couple arguing quietly by the check-in desk, a bellhop wrestling with luggage. No one paying me any mind, or so it seemed. Was I just jumpy from the flight, or did the shadows in the far corner by the potted palms seem a little too deep? The elevator arrived with a cheerful ding. The doors slid open, empty. I stepped inside, pressed the button for the 12th floor. Just as the doors began to close, a hand shot out, stopping them. A man slipped in. I hadn't seen him waiting. He was maybe late 40s, dressed in a slightly too large beige linen suit that looked like it had seen better days. He didn't press a floor button. He just leaned against the back wall, a thin, unnerving smile playing on his lips. His eyes, pale, watery blue, fixed on me. The air in the small car suddenly felt thick, heavy. We ascended in silence. The only sound the soft whir of the cables and the tinny muzak version of some song I couldn't quite place. He just kept smiling. Not a friendly smile. It was fixed, almost painted on, like a store mannequin. I stared at the floor numbers lighting up, trying to project an air of bored indifference, my heart doing a nervous little tap dance against my ribs. 7, 8, 9? Long flight? He asked, his voice surprisingly soft, almost a whisper. I just nodded, not meeting his eyes. 10, 11. Then he said it. You're staying in 1214, right? My head snapped up. My blood ran cold. I hadn't said a word about my room number, not to anyone, not even to the bellhop who'd taken my main suitcase. How could he possibly know? Excuse me, I managed, my voice barely a squeak. His smile widened, just a fraction, just a guess. Lucky, I suppose. He didn't look lucky. He looked knowing. The elevator dinged for the 12th floor. The doors opened. I practically lunged out, fumbling for my keycard, my hands shaking. He stayed in the elevator, that awful smile still plastered on his face, his pale eyes following me, unblinking, until the doors slid shut. his form receding into the dim light. My room, 1214, was at the end of a long, quiet corridor. I didn't even glance at it. I turned and sprinted for the emergency stairs, my carry-on banging against my legs. I didn't stop until I reached the lobby, breathless and terrified. Straight to the front desk. I need to change my room. I gasped at the startled clerk. Immediately. I didn't tell her why, not the full story. Just that I'd had an uncomfortable encounter in the elevator. She looked skeptical, but after a hushed call to a manager, moved me to room 88 on the 8th floor, a different wing. I felt a tiny bit foolish, but the chilling certainty of that man's smile, his impossible knowledge, wouldn't leave me. I double-locked 808, slid the chain across, wedged the flimsy desk chair under the knob. Overreaction? Maybe. But the image of his eyes, I couldn't shake it. Later that evening, trying to work on my presentation, I saw a man who looked like him in the hotel's crowded lobby bar, laughing with a group of conference goers. But his suit was different, darker. And when he turned, his face seemed fuller. Was it him? Or was my fear painting his features onto every stranger? That night, sleep was a battlefield. Around 1 a.m., the room phone jangled, making me leap out of my skin. I snatched it up. Silence. Then a soft, almost inaudible chuckle, and the click of the line going dead. The caller ID just read internal call. My heart hammered. Coincidence? Or was he letting me know he knew where I'd moved? Later I heard it. Faint at first. Footsteps in the hallway outside room 808. Soft measured. Then the distinct metallic clink of a keycard reader being tried. My door. I held my breath, frozen. Beep, beep, beep. Error. A pause. Then again. Clink. Beep, beep. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved on. I crept to the peephole. The hallway was empty, bathed in the sickly yellow emergency lighting. Had I imagined it? Was the stress finally getting to me? The next morning, I was a wreck. I almost skipped the conference, but forced myself to go, needing the distraction, the illusion of normalcy. But his face, that smile, haunted every coffee break, every tedious panel discussion. I found myself constantly scanning faces, jumping at shadows. That afternoon, a morbid, terrified curiosity got the better of me. I had to know. I took the stairs up to the 12th floor, to my old room, 1214. The hallway was deserted. As I approached the door, I saw it. A small, almost invisible scratch mark near the keycard slot, fresh against the cheap wood veneer, and tucked into the frame, so tiny I almost missed it, was a single dried pressed flower, a pale, watery blue, the exact color of his eyes. My stomach churned. He'd been here. He'd tried the door. I didn't go to my presentation that evening. I started packing, my movements frantic. I had to get out of this hotel, out of this city. As I was zipping up my suitcase, my room door, 808, suddenly rattled. Not a knock. Someone was trying the handle. Then, the keycard reader, clink, beep, beep, beep. My blood turned to ice. I backed away from the door, my eyes wide, fumbling for my phone. The beeping stopped. Silence. Then a soft, almost gentle knock. Sarah. His voice. That same whispery softness from the elevator. I know you're in there, Sarah. We didn't get to finish our chat. Room 800 and is cozy. But I did prefer the view from 1214, didn't you? He knew my name. My actual name, not the Maya I'd used earlier in my head. How? How? He jiggled the handle again, more forcefully this time. Don't make this difficult, Sarah. I just want to talk. He was holding something. Through the peephole, I saw the glint of metal, a master keycard, or something that looked like one, held loosely in his hand. His smile was back, wider now, more predatory. I screamed, a raw, ragged sound, and dialed 911, shouting my room number, my voice cracking with terror. He's trying to get in. He has a key. The man outside my door chuckled, a low, chilling sound. Security here is so lax, isn't it? He murmured, just loud enough for me to hear. Then, the sound of the keycard reader again, a triumphant beep green. The deadbolt, the flimsy chain, wouldn't hold for long against a determined push. The next few seconds were a blur. I threw my heavy suitcase against the door, wedged the desk chair more firmly. Just as the door began to give, a crack appearing, I saw his face, that awful smile. Then, sirens. Faint at first, then growing louder, closer. The pressure on the door stopped. I heard footsteps running, receding down the hall. The police arrived, lights flashing in the corridor. The man was gone. Hotel security, now looking considerably less bored, swarmed the floor. They found him on the security footage, entering the elevator with me. Then later, loitering on the 12th floor, trying the door of 12 to 14. Then, hours later, on the 8th floor, outside my new room. He seemed to appear and disappear from camera blind spots with an almost ghostly ease. He wasn't a registered guest. No one knew who he was. I left Miami on the first flight the next morning. The conference, my presentation, all forgotten. The police never caught him. They theorized he was part of a sophisticated ring targeting solo female travelers, perhaps using compromised hotel booking data, or even an inside source to get room numbers and names. The elevator encounter, the room number comment, was a tactic to unnerve, to assess, to see if I was an easy mark. I don't know. I'll never know. But the Coral Sands Resort, with its generic art and faint smell of chlorine, is now a permanent fixture in my nightmares. And sometimes, when I'm in an elevator, alone, and the doors start to close, I half expect to see a hand shoot out, a stranger slip in, and I can almost hear that soft, whispery voice, feel those pale, watery blue eyes on me. And I just pray the doors open on my floor before he asks me where I'm staying, because I know, with a certainty that chills me to the bone, that he's still out there, and he still knows my name.